Great. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to the world. Hello, everyone. I'm Abdul Samad Khan, your host at Act Global from Youth Impact. And today I'm very, very excited because this is a webinar where I've got two amazing people, my ideals. I wish I could live a life like these two people over here. They have spent and they are going to spend the impactful, the powerful, and the transformational life. And that's what we are going to discover today at Act Global. So let me give you an overview about what is Act Global. At Youth Impact, we used to work with young people in Pakistan most of the time, and we used to do a lot of outdoor adventure-based leadership trainings. And every month we used to have this monthly reunion of our alumni who are centered in 11 different cities of Pakistan. So these act were a cup of tea sessions. So these a cup of tea sessions were held in 11 different cities, and thanks to COVID-19, that we can't hold them anymore. That's where we got this idea to bring them online, and that was an opportunity where we realized that instead of just limiting it to the experts and mentors from Pakistan only, now we can benefit from the expertise and experiences of some amazing people on earth. And that's where this Act Global came in. Act Global is a cup of tea. I have got my own cup of tea, and the beauty of this act is that you can have your Turkish tea, you can have your coffee, you can have your glass of water. So at your own pace, at your own taste, you can have whatever you want to continue with this conversation. So grab your cup of tea because we are going to spend 1 hour with you. And with these two amazing people listening to their journeys. So let me welcome my guest today, Dr. Faruq Budak, in the center of the screen. Faruq is going to explain a little bit more about himself. The best thing I liked about his work was seeing the whole world from a different lens, not just the lens of camera, but lens of eye, and to portray that beautiful world from Asian part of the world, from African part of the world, and rest of the world to us. And that's where I'm excited to learn more from Faruq about how he sees the world different, and how he invites the young people of Pakistan to see the world different. And then on my extreme right, I've got Fredrika. Fredrika is an amazing young lady from Sweden. Thank you very much, Fredrika, on joining this webinar on my request. She had been busy traveling, and she's one of those amazing people on earth who have been across the globe. And the best thing is that she did in 1,000 days, and on the bicycle. And that's the wow part of this whole journey. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, get yourself embraced for this very powerful and very impactful conversation. So I'm going to pass on the mic to Faruq to start with yourself. Let us our audience know a little bit more about you. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abdul. First of all, I am a retired Army colonel, having a Bachelor of Science degree in Civil Engineering, Master of Science degree in Civil Engineering also, and PhD, Doctor of Philosophy degree in Industrial Engineering. I gave different engineering courses in graduate and postgraduate programs in my country at different universities in 1990s and 20s. Then after 25 years in the army, military service, I left the army, and immediately afterward, I went on an epic journey in Asia and Africa, backpacking alone for 14 months without coming back home. What makes this trip very special? This was the first time that a Turkish traveler, Turkish backpacker, traveled the famous legendary route from Cape Town in southernmost point of Africa, in South Africa, until the Cairo in Egypt, northernmost point in Africa. And before continuing to Istanbul, without any stop. And there are three legendary routes for backpackers in the world. One of them is Transamerica from Alaska until Tierra del Fuego in the South America.
South America, yeah.
Second one is Cape to Cairo in Africa. And the third one is Silk Road in Asia. I am the first Turkish backpacker who is completing the Cape to Cairo road. And thank you very much. I wrote three different books about this trip. One of them is 9 Years of Asia.
Oh my God.
The other one is Africa Cafe. These are in English. And you can find these books in Amazon.com also. And this is third one, but unfortunately, this one is in Turkish, in my native language. It's a kind of handbook for travelers, young travelers. But unfortunately, it's in Turkish, yes. What I am doing professionally at this moment, for the last 15 years, I am leading some special tours to some specific off-the-beaten track destinations in Africa and Asia, mostly to indigenous tribes in Africa and wildlife safaris. I am writing also for some Turkish monthly travel magazines, and I am the owner of a travel company at this moment. I am also the manager of this company.
Excellent. Wonderful. I just have few comments. When I saw your books, I wish that we could have a real live physical webinar, because the beauty of such real seminars, which is not online, is that you can get a signed copy from the author, and you can request a complimentary copy, which I can't do over here. So, well, thank you very much, Faruq, for this amazing introduction. I could see a very diverse background coming from military, and then a mix of engineering and project management, and then traveling and tourism, and doing something which no Turkish has ever done. Wonderful. That's awesome. Right, Fredrika, we want to hear from you.
Hi, guys. I'm so happy to be part of this today. My name is Fredrika, and I come from Sweden. So I'm sitting today in almost the most northern part of Europe. So we're covering big parts of the world today.
Wow.
I started my adventures at a quite young age. Today I am 28 years old, and a little while back I arrived back home on my bicycle after spending approximately 3 years, 1,000 days to ride one lap around the world. And Mr. Faruq, I did spend a few months riding through your country, Turkey, and still today, I very much dream of one day coming with my bicycle to Pakistan too.
Very nice, very nice. That's great. You have got a host now, so yeah, most welcome. Excellent. So, Fredrika, starting from you, you're this amazing journey of 1,000 days or 3 years, covering almost the entire globe. So, I was curious when I found you on internet. I found your website and your pages with the name of The Bike Ramble. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that right. You? Yeah. So, I was curious that where did it start, and what was your inspiration behind it? Being a young solo girl, and so what was your biggest motivation to, come up with this crazy idea, I would say?
I think the path that led me finally to deciding to take on this huge project, this life project, probably started way back when I was 12, 13 years old, something like this. In Sweden, where I come from, we have sort of an organization, I would say, that in many ways are quite similar to ACT and to, in Swedish, we're called the Scouterna. And it's an organization aimed for youth, where you really encourage young people to try and develop leadership skills and spend a lot of time in nature and really.
Are you talking about scouts?
Something like this, yeah, similar.
Okay. Right.
And I think at a young age, I was taught that if you can dream it, maybe not do it yet, but at least you can take the first steps towards your goals and dreams. So I was very fortunate to be brought up in an environment where I could dream big. And eventually I I found my passion in bicycling and also in traveling. And I think I started quite small with making journeys within Sweden and within Europe, where I could really grow my skills and also start dreaming bigger and bigger and daring to dream bigger. And finally, I decided I want to really, really test myself and really, really see what is out there. Because the more you see of the world, the more you realize how little you know of it. That's my experience. So
wow. Yeah, just hold yourself, because we are going to discover more about this journey. And from what I can hear and I can see from distance, if I'm not judging it wrong, you must be an introvert person deciding to go solo. So
I think I still struggle to know for myself if I really am an introvert or an extreme extrovert. Because I really have these two sides of me, and I really enjoy life with the big spectrum of spending a lot of time on my own and really not being afraid of spending time with myself. Because I think in today's society, we have internet. Even if we're not physically surrounded by other people, we're not really used to just staying with our own mind and really getting to know ourselves. But then at the other side of it, with me, my travels on bicycle, the best things I know always is meeting local people and experiencing culture through the people I meet along the road. So I travel alone, but it's very rare that I'm actually lonely on the road.
All right. Yeah, I can imagine that. That's beautiful. Wonderful. I'm switching my conversation to Dr. Faruq Budak. And Faruq, you just introduced that, you had been into military for almost 25 years. So what a great switch from military and then going to discover the world and actually discovering yourself. So what made you have this transition in your life? What was your biggest inspiration?
Actually, as I was getting ready to leave the army after 25 years in the service as an engineer in the army. Then I started planning a long-term project with a low budget, but would satisfy my desire to see some places on this planet. Maybe even though I had an opportunity to stay in the army as an engineer almost 10 years more, but there were some questions in my mind that will I have the same energy to realize this project after 10 years? And will I able to overcome these difficulties after 10 years with my energy? And will I be really happy in my daily life while I am postponing this project continuously? That's why these questions is coming to my mind, and I decided to give a long break and then going to out. And there's a Dutch proverb. They say that the happiest person, the hobbies are very important in our life. The happiest person is the one who makes his hobby as his job. And that's why I love traveling too much, and I decided to make this hobby, make my business. I am just a simple independent traveler, but at the same time, I am a owner of a travel company organizing some, as I told you before, some specific tours, cultural, tribal, and wildlife tours, safari tours to Africa, Asia, and Latin America also.
Excellent. That's wonderful. I'm picking these your words and passing on to Fredrika. Fredrika, Dr. Faruq said that when your hobby and your profession becomes one thing, you are the happiest person on earth. So, did you plan to experience this happiness? I mean, converting your passion for outdoors and adventures and bicycle into your source of your income. Is there any plan for that?
I think there is a lot of truth to the saying, I have to say. But for me personally, the whole today, I'm a professional adventurer, and yes, I received after coming home from my journey, I received some big awards for the adventure I made. It's called the European Adventurer of the Year, and also in Sweden, the Swedish Adventurer of the Year. And to this is something I'm extremely proud of myself, is that I think we will cover more on this topic later, but I spent a lot of time and effort during my travels with speaking about different issues that that the people I meet on the road face in their daily life, that especially people in Sweden, we have a very, very safe and structured society with all the comforts of the Western world. And I try to share some of the reality, which is not always as pretty as the photos I take. And I've used this the popularity that my travels has gained to talking about these different social issues for people around the world. And I've tried to raise a lot of money for organization working to better the lives and the possibilities of people all around the world. So for raising 1 million Swedish kroner, which is approximately 100,000 euros, towards this project called Action Aid, working to secure the human rights of women and girls around the world. I was also awarded the fundraiser of the year in Sweden, and all of these things combined has paved the way for me to continue my travels that just started as my passion, also into my career and my professional life. So to me, this was not the plan, but I think there is also when people really do what they love the most, you tend to spend a lot of time, a lot of effort and passion into also becoming really, really good at this one thing that you're doing. For me, it was traveling by bicycle, adventuring by bicycle, and also lots of photographing. And small steps ahead, and I used to really work hard at these different types of daily jobs just to gain some money, which I could save to buy my equipment and to take some time off to travel. And I was always going back and forth between these jobs that had nothing to do with my passion. It was only a way for me to afford that passion. And then slowly things shifted, and now I can spend all my time and energy into what I love. And also I think where I can really give a lot more value to the world and the people around me too. So I think when you really find your passion and you find where all of these things go back together, you find something that you're good at, that the world needs, and also that you really, really love doing, you can really create a lot of value for yourself and for other people.
That's beautiful, because this reminds me that, three of us sitting here, we have got this thing common between us, that the passion, the profession, and the mission, when they are combined together, there's nothing beautiful like that on earth. And we work with young people, and being an adventure enthusiast, I made it my profession, and we used to do these outdoor leadership camps where we take the young people into Himalayas, and through a lot of adventure stuff, we teach them about life and leadership and their own potential and their goals and vision for their life. So this is where we see that we don't feel that we are working, or we are working at a 9-to-5 job, or we are just concerned about the pay or the salary. It's just that your inner satisfaction, and there's no it's unending energy in you, which doesn't let you sleep all the time. I can relate with that experience. Wonderful. Great. Moving forward, Faruq, I have this question, because I'm very much curious about both of you guys, about your journey, your thought process, what was in the mind, and what was the preparation for these kind of experiences. So what is this Cape to Cairo? What does it mean? at first Turkish. I mean, I can see that you had been perhaps the first ever in the entire Turkey who did that thing. But what is this Cape to Cairo journey? Please describe us a little bit more. Maybe some youngster who are watching this could plan or dream for this someday for themselves.
Mr. Abdul, to be honest, traveling in Africa is more difficult than the other continents.
Okay.
I will tell some examples. You
Sure.
can find and meet so many backpackers, so many tourists in Asia, especially in Southeast Asia and Indian subcontinent countries. But this is not the same in Africa. Just a few people. After the equator line in Kenya until Egypt, the road conditions are very hard, and travel times between the cities, between the countries are too long. I traveled on the top of a truck which is full of cows, almost 13 hours, almost 13 hours in northern Kenya to reach to the border. And going from in Ethiopia, going from the capital city Addis Ababa to another city at the north of Ethiopia took almost 2.5 days. And it's officially forbidden to drive during the night hours in Ethiopia. That's why before the sunset, the bus stops in a town or city, and everybody have to look for a hotel or a place to sleep. And you have to come back to the bus terminal at 5 a.m. and the next morning with the same bus. There are a lot of examples that it's very difficult being a backpacker in Africa. Because of these hard conditions, there are just a few backpackers. There are just a few travelers. I mean, the traveling with a low budget. I mean, this kind of people, And I heard these three sentences in almost everywhere in Africa. You are the first one who eat in our restaurant. You are the first Turkish guy who stayed in our hotel. You are the first Turkish backpacker that I saw so far in my country. And it's not so easy. It's not so easy.
I can imagine. Thank you very much for sharing those insights, and definitely we'll be touching upon the budget and economy side of backpacking, because that's where a lot of questions and interest will be, that how with so much or so less money you can travel. So Fredrika, what I've seen your video, one of your videos, you were talking about the amount you spent in this entire journey as well. So where did you manage this whole resources? I'm sure the preparation will be too long. How much time you spent on preparing yourself, and how much time you spent on acquiring the equipment and the gear and the bicycle and the money and everything? So how long was the planning time?
For me, really, the time from when I really decided that this project is mine, I'm going to do whatever I can, whatever it takes to first of all start it, and then go with it for just as long as possible. From the day I really decided to the day where I sat myself on the bike and rode outside my hometown, it was approximately 1 year, a year and a half.
Oh wow!
So 18 months. It was at the time. I mean, I tell everyone, yes, I was traveling for a long time, 1,000 days, 3 years on the road. But the year and a half before that, I spent at home just waiting, and trying to really, what was the biggest difficulty for me was working and trying to save the money that I needed to be able to stay away from home and live off my bicycle for this period of time. Like we talked about earlier, today I'm in a very different situation where I can also call this bicycle traveling my job. But when I started, I was 22 years old, and I had no platform. I had no people believing in my idea. I had no bicycle, so I really had to. It was me and my idea and my dream, and I didn't have a support system around me. with someone supporting with gear or someone supporting with good words of encouragement. It was really me. And I tried to, at the time I was living in my hometown in Sweden, and I have nice parents who let me stay in their house, so I could get rid of the apartment I was living in before and try and not have too many expenses. And I was working 3 jobs and only trying to save the money so I could first of all get myself the bicycle, right? And I needed I bought my tent. So it was really a lot about finding the equipment I needed and then having a small budget on which I could live. So yes, talking about living off a low budget, I lived this life for 3 years where I had my bicycle, I had my tent, a small camping stove. And so I cook my own food. I sleep in my tent. And when the difficulties financially wise has been really acquiring the visas that I needed to enter the countries, because they can become quite expensive at times in different regions. I'm lucky to have a Swedish passport, which is generally one of the stronger passports in the world. Actually, I can travel visa-free in many parts of the world. But still, for me, also being from Sweden, it was really one of the biggest hurdles is to acquire the finances for visas.
Awesome. What when I listen to this whole story, my mind is processing this whole information. What I see, that there is a strong faith and strong belief by some young girl. Even no one believes in her, still she has got that strong conviction that she can do it. And then she has a very strong single focus to the goal. 18 months, saving a lot of money, shifting out of your apartment, moving to your parents, and saving all the money for that one single goal. And then being a resourceful person, like having ability to live or spend 3 years with such a small asset or such a small belongings in your life. So this is so far what I have been able to learn from you, and definitely I need to learn more from both of you. So Faruq, you have been author of different books as well, and you have shown those books to me. Definitely I'm going to check them on Amazon. And actually I was a bit excited more about the travel guide, but I just realized that it is in Turkish language. I hope someday you will be having an English version as well. Well, tell us more about this 9 gates of Asia, because you had been to our neighboring countries. I wish someday you also visit Pakistan as well. So what are these 9 gates, and what's the inspiration behind this?
Okay. Mr. Abdul, I am a professional tourist guide, also having a license, and that's why I will talk about archaeology a little bit. The phrase early civilizations is usually related with the ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia in Middle East, but and great pyramids, mummies, and golden tombs. But in 1920s, a great discovery, a huge discovery in your country, in Pakistan. In Indus River Valley, archaeologists found an early settlement, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. These 2 early settlements shows us, prove that ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia is not the early settlements in this planet. And these 2 settlements were almost 5,000-year-old places. It was really a huge discovery. But maybe archaeologists discovered a very old, 12,000-old stone temple in my country, in Southeast Asia, within the border of our country, Turkey. And in the Middle East, Middle East is a part of Asia also. And there's a Turkish phrase also, light rises from the east. Asia is our eastern side. And that's why until today, there were so many different civilizations in this planet. But if we ask ourselves where the cradle of these early civilization is, the answer will be definitely Asia. That's why
Okay.
Asian continent has an important role. And
Okay.
in ancient times, there were defense walls around the cities to protect people from the enemy attacks. And there were some gates between these defense walls to enter the city. And I thought that Asian continent itself, a great city, the cradle of our civilizations. And these 9 countries, the gates to enter this sacred city. That's why I called my book 9 Days of Asia. It means that I traveled in my long journey 9 different countries in Asia, and this is the story.
Right. So these 9 gates are basically, what I comprehend, are 9 different countries of Asia,
9
right?
Yeah.
And that's where you. Okay, wonderful. That's amazing. And I would definitely like to read through this book and find about. And this is amazing wisdom coming from someone who is in the middle of East and West, telling that, the sun rises in the East. And that's where, we also try to inspire a lot of young Pakistanis that, the sun rises in the East. And that's where, we have to come up with the Eastern wisdom with a touch of humanity to come up with the solutions for humanity and the preservations of civilizations and culture. Wonderful. So Fredrika, I'm sorry. What are those countries you have traveled, and which country you liked most? I mean, this must be one of those famous questions that which country had the best experience?
It's the famous question that you can never answer, but I will do it. I will give it a try. So to make it short, I mean, on this journey, I was cycling through 45 different countries in the world. I went to 5 continents. So not Antarctica, unfortunately. I dream of one day riding on the ice. And also, I was not in North America on this trip. So to make a short stop, I started really outside the house of my parents, the house where I grew up. That is the start and the finish line of this trip. And I started in March in 2015 it was. And this means, I'm not sure, guys, we're in early March, what the weather is where you are. But in my hometown in northern Sweden, it's really winter time. So I had approximately, say, minus 10 degrees Celsius.
Oh my God.
And it was really the most practical time of the year for me to start. It doesn't sound like this with a lot of ice and a lot of snow, but I knew in my mind, not exactly, but approximately, that this was really the only time of the year for me where I could start a travel by bicycle. I mean, I go really slowly, right? And sort of try and catch the right seasons all throughout Europe, Asia, and to be able to cross some of the bigger mountain ranges across the Asian continent without being stuck in too much snow and ice. So I chose, okay, I can bear some winter time back home in Sweden, because there are a lot of difficulties that were waiting for me further down the road that I didn't have to worry about. So starting off, it was really the climate. The climate of my home country can be rough sometimes. And I made the trip through really, really south, all the way down to Greece. Through Europe, you were crossing quite a few countries. I could name them, but I'm not sure if it's worth it. I went from Sweden to Denmark, to Germany, to Czech Republic. Let's see, down to Slovenia. No, through Austria, to Slovenia, to Croatia, and all the way through the Balkan countries, down to Greece. And sometimes I make it as a joke. I was basically started in Sweden. I rode south through Greece, and then I took a left turn. So coming through Greece into Turkey, I spent approximately 2 good months riding through through northern Turkey into Iran. And I was happy, Faruq, that you mentioned the Silk Road, because I have some quite fond memories riding my bike along it. I was coming through northern Iran into Turkmenistan, into Uzbekistan, Tajikistan. And these, for me, I mean, these are your neighboring countries almost. But for me, Tajikistan and also Kyrgyzstan, these are countries that as a young Swedish girl, you cannot even spell them, let alone point them out on a map. I had very little experience of life outside Europe. So it was really the first year going through Asia and finding these historical nations with so much culture inside them. It was really, really a life-changing experience for me. And from Kyrgyzstan, I was crossing into northern China. I spent 3 months. And at this point, it was almost more 9 months, let's say, after starting the trip. I was quite happy that I had managed to go through the cold of Sweden, because I was just in time to cross the Himalayas before the harsh winter came. I was crossing the high parts of China in November, so I could still do it. And coming south through Southeast Asia, so from China to Laos, to from Laos I crossed into Vietnam, to Cambodia, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore. I mean, there are lots of small countries in this part of the world. And I spent a lot of time in Australia and New Zealand. And always when I'm quite happy sometimes when I explain my route to young children, because they are the ones that point the finger at me and say, no, you didn't ride your bicycle around the world, because I say I went from Singapore to Australia, right? I don't know if anyone is able to ride their bicycle across the ocean.
There's no road.
So, yeah, exactly. So this is also the part where, for me, we talked about finances earlier. I was catching airplanes between the continents in Australia, New Zealand, and the big leap from after spending 3 months in New Zealand, I came also to Tierra del Fuego, the southernmost tip of the South American continent. And I was quite happy at the time, because I came to Ushuaia. They call it the most southern city of the world. And they have this place. It's quite for fun. Where you can, even in your passport, they will give you a stamp that says El fin del mundo. Exactly, which means it means the end of the world, and you can have it stamped into your passport. And I said, yes, I think this will be fun. But then I realized, no, I cannot take this stamp that is not actually a visa, because my passport was filling up. So I really needed to be careful with the pages I had left in my passport. So unfortunately, I don't have this one. And I was cycling in the South American continent, Argentina, Chile, back and forth between the two countries. A lot of times I spent really a lot of time in the high Andes. It's the longest mountain range of the world. Himalayas are higher, but this is the longest one. It stretches almost all the way across the whole continent. And for me, you asked me about my favorite country, and the answer would be different every day, because every day I dream back to different places. But I think the time I spent in the Andes, the mountain range of South American continent, this is probably one of my favorite parts of the whole world, because I think overall life on high altitude in high mountains is something different usually. And I think you meet really interesting people living very simple lifestyles with a lot of strength, both in body and mind. And I'm very inspired usually when I spend time in the mountains. And this is part of why I personally really, really, a big dream of mine is to come to Pakistan by bicycle one day. To also see the mountains. I'm always drawn to mountains.
Yeah. We receive a lot of foreigners who enter from China
Mhm.
through Punjab Pass, and
Yeah,
then all the way from Karakorum, Hindu
yeah.
Kush, and Himalayas, and they
Mhm.
come down to Islamabad, and then either they go to Iran or they go to India. So this is a great passage. So
Yes,
most welcome.
I've
So
read so much about the Karakorum Highway, and I can sit uh, all long nights and just watching photos and dreaming of one day I hope to. So
wonderful. So
yes,
we have
but,
got some. Yeah, we have got some inspired young people who are really saying that your first story is phenomenal. So definitely, we are seeing
thank
young
you so
people
much.
following
Thank
your
you.
footprints. Excellent, Farouk. I had this question, and I'm curious about the cultural differences and the languages, because when you travel across so many countries, uh, first thing is it like the people who make that country best for you, or it's about the places where you get the best experiences? So is it people or places? Number one. Number two, how do you see the cultural and language differences, the all the differences which you carry with yourself, and then you experiences at all those places? So how do you manage or maneuver with all those differences? Yes.
First of all, English is the very common languages all over the world.
Yeah.
Just a few countries, yeah, like Sudan and Ethiopia. These were the difficult countries in Africa, and
Mhm.
in Asia, you can find so many people who can speak English, and that's why it's not a big problem. You can always find even the body language. Sometimes, yeah,
Yeah.
it may be necessary to interaction with the others, and that's why it's just English is enough to travel all over the world.
Yeah.
But in South America, maybe if you know some Spanish, it will be so useful for you, so useful.
Right. Yeah. And
Okay.
Turkish in Turkey as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Young people know English very well. That's why
Yeah.
you can easily understand
Yeah.
and communicate with the others.
Yeah. Yeah. Once I was couch surfing in Turkey with a Turkish guy, and he couldn't speak a single word of English, and I couldn't speak a single word of Turkish. So it took almost 1 hour for us to figure out that he wanted to offer me a cup of tea. Uh, so, so yeah, I mean that's the beauty of the culture, because you get to interact with people and you establish those unvisible connections which are not there, which are very easy, or you just take for granted when you know the language. But when you don't know the language, then it's so beautiful. I mean, yeah.
But Mr. Abdul, chai is a very common name all over the Asia and Middle East. If
Yeah.
you know the chai,
Yeah.
it's very easy
It's
to
enough.
have it.
Y-
Yeah,
Yeah,
to have
but the
an
problem was
tea.
that we take chai with milk and spices, and then the
Yeah. In
Turkish my
Pakistan, yeah.
Turkish host consider it as an insult of tea that you put milk into that. So that was kind of a debate going on.
Yeah. In India and
Yeah,
Pakistan, in Kenya
yeah,
also, they
yeah,
love tea with milk, but
yeah,
we never
yeah.
use milk. Yeah.
Right.
In
So,
Middle
so
East.
my question is that when you say that that country had been my best place, so is it the place, the buildings, the mountains, the streets, or it's the people? What makes
Uh,
the experience best for you?
from my point of view, the culture is very important. Yeah.
Okay, and
Sometimes
how do you define culture?
I mean the monuments, architecture,
Yeah, yeah,
their monuments, their temples. These are very interesting tools for me. From
right.
that point of view, Myanmar in Southeast Asia
Yeah,
is number one, and in Africa, Zanzibar,
yeah.
a small island belonging to Tanzania.
Tanzania,
These
yeah.
are the most beautiful places for me. Zanzibar is
Wow.
almost a Muslim island,
Yeah,
and Myanmar, is a Buddhist country with a small
yeah,
percentage of Muslim people.
yeah.
But yeah, it's totally beautiful places for me. Yeah.
Interesting, wonderful, great. Okay, we are left with 16 more minutes, and I wish we could continue more with this conversation. So I'll be crisp about my questions. So coming to $1 million question, Fredrika. So how did you manage this whole trip, and I mean, when we see from distance, like in Pakistan, when young people see a Swedish white girl going across the world, she must be very rich person. Her parents must have given her a lot of money, or she must be having a lot of businesses. And so, tell us, what was your financial or economic condition, and how did you manage that? And if you could share, what was your total budget for this entire trip?
I think it's one part of traveling is that you realize that the world is a lot bigger than your personal world where you live and grow up. For me, if you would ask any person on the street here in Sweden, Fredrika, she was a rich girl when she left for her trip on a bicycle, they would laugh in your face because they know, okay, I was the girl who I couldn't afford to buy my bicycle. And
Yeah.
but what is very important, I think, for people coming from my part of the world is realizing that, okay, within my own society, no, I'm not by any means a rich person, but I live in one of the most privileged countries of the whole world. So this means that I can, what is considered to be a very low paid local job, if I can manage to live a very, very simple life back here in Sweden, where it's very expensive to go to the shop, it's very expensive really to do anything, but the salaries are also in level with the living expenses here. So I try to be very careful with my money at home. And then once which is really an advantage that I have coming from this country, is that once I really leave, once I can go to most different parts of the world, and the little money I have back home suddenly is worth a lot more. So, and it's difficult and easy sometimes, I think, to think about this in different perspectives. But I have also, depending on, I'm sure, Faruq, that you will relate to this. You can really live while traveling a very different lifestyle depending on where you are in the world. I mean, I was spending 3 months in Australia, for example, a Western country with very high living costs. And I spent 3 months, with one exception, sleeping in my tent. And the one exception was sleeping in a couch surfing host's couch. So I would never in my life get a hotel room or something like this in these types of countries. And you eat oats for breakfast and couscous for dinner, and that's it. But then, for example, coming through Southeast Asia or something like this, without much trouble, I can afford to have 3 good meals in the street for the price of a banana back home. So this is also always very different. And so yes, on a global scale, I'm a very fortunate person just because I have I'm living in the society I am, and this is also something that makes me also even more eager also to try and use my privilege and the good parts that come with it to try and do good also for more people than myself. So yes, I have this amazing, unique opportunity to travel the world and to see so much more than most people will ever dream of. But I can also use that possibility to share the stories that I learn also with people, and also to a lot of people back home in Sweden that are never really gonna realize that, okay, the world is not fair and the world is not evenly the means are not evenly spread. So I think for myself, I've sort of tried to come to terms with my own privilege, with using it for something good and using it to benefit also more people than myself.
That's beautiful. I mean, I love this last part that, with all your fame and exposure and experiences, the best outcome or all these privilege, the best outcome could be in the form of giving back to the community or society, or connecting with it with a social cause, and that's very beautiful. So I'm going to share the websites of our guest speakers here. So this is a website where our viewers can visit and learn more about Faruq Budak's amazing work, travels, pictures. I love your pictures. Your photography skills are amazing.
Thank you very much.
So this is wonderful. And then there they can get connected. I'm sure if they have any questions, if someone wants to plan an expedition from Cape to Cairo, definitely you would be generous enough to help them to plan their trips.
Yes,
And at the same time, we have got this website of Fredrika, which is about her journey and her traveling, her cycling experiences. It talks about all those countries she has visited, and it has the pictures, and then there the people can got connected with Fredrika as well. So wonderful. Moving towards the last 10 minutes of this conversation, and I really don't want to end this like this so quickly. What had been the biggest challenge for both of you guys during your travels? Very quickly, if you could share about the biggest trouble or challenge you faced while you were traveling. Yeah, Faruq?
Faruq,
yes.
go ahead.
Thank you. There was a civil war between the Maoist guerrillas and the government forces in Nepal, and that's why my boss had to wait for the other buses to organize a convoy protected by the government forces during the travel, and from the Indian border until the capital city of Kathmandu in Nepal. Another problem was in Zimbabwe. Ex-president at that time, the president was Mr. Robert Mugabe, and he's a little bit racist persons. And he said, "Africa back to Africans," and his civil forces was attacking the farmyards of the white residents, white people, and there was unofficial curfew during the night hours. And it was a really dangerous place for the white people. And there was a huge shortage of diesel and food in Zimbabwe. And inflation rate was amazing. And that, another conflict was in Sudan. And there was a civil war in Sudan. And as you know, they have separated as South and North Sudan. And that's why I had to choose a different itinerary, very close to the Red Sea, to cross to Sudan to Egypt. And these are the some difficulties in my journey. But as I told you before, Africa is the not so easy place traveling.
But at the same time, it's very beautiful as well. I mean, it's worth discovering the people and the places.
Exactly.
I mean, it's all this pain is worth it. I'm sure all these efforts you have made to discover, I'm sure it's worth it. Because that's very unfortunate to see the conflict and wars and all these power struggles across the world. So, Fredrika, did you get to encounter any such incidents, or what had been your biggest challenge during the entire journey?
Yes, of course. And I have to also, once again, I agree with the discussion you have regarding the continent of Africa, because also by bicycle, yes, you have some some big challenges traveling through the continent. But it's like you said, Samad, you have, or I think overall with people like us, we know that the biggest challenges usually also somehow in one way or another create the biggest memories and some of the biggest experiences, which we all go out searching for. But I think for myself, some on the road, the biggest really challenges or extreme intense experiences I've had has been more than people and war. It's been situations where I've really felt small and powerless in nature. So I've been stuck in cycling through the Sahara Desert, for example. I was caught by surprise in a sandstorm in Western Sahara, and this is I mean, you can talk about yourself as being an adventurer or being strong or being all sorts of things. And I try to really always solve the problems I face on the road or challenges I meet. I have quite good confidence that, yes, I know my way around, and I feel like I can take on most challenges with good results. But then once nature turns on you, you realize that no, all of this is in our minds, because we are with no chance when the ground disappears beneath our feet. So I have had sandstorm in the Sahara, and also an electrical storm on 5,500 meters altitude in the Andes.
Oh my God!
I was it was really my own fault in a way, because I was cycling a high mountain pass on the border between Argentina and Chile. I think the altitude on the pass, which is really on a road, a small gravel road, and you're bumping, very very bumpy ride, but you can ride it up to 4,800 meters. And on this pass, it's really the foot of a volcano, and I knew that this is one of the most accessible 6,000 meter peaks in the world. And being curious and being sometimes a little bit naive and always wanting to experience a little bit more, I decided, okay, I will hide my bike behind this rock, and I will just walk up this mountain to see what the view looks like. And this was, I knew from the very start. I have the film from my GoPro with me saying to the camera, I know this is a bad idea, but I feel like walking anyways. And it turned out to be very stupid thing I did, because I just wanted to go a little bit, and then you become too fixated sometimes with the idea of, okay, maybe a little bit more and a little bit more. And before you know it, you sort of lose yourself a little bit in knowing where to set the limit, because you push it slowly. And a lot of times this is a good thing, I think. But you have to sort of know in what situations this is dangerous. You can go a little bit more, and it doesn't feel like a big step, but then all of a sudden you're really out of your depth. So I went to the top of this mountain, and I was still happy. But on my way down, I made it to the top. But it's always like this. It's coming down the mountains that are the dangerous parts. And for me, it wasn't like scaling down the mountain in itself that was a bad thing. But there was a storm coming in, and this is in February, which is the time of the year. I knew already that this is the time of the year where the electrical storms come across the high Andes. So this means that you don't have the thunder and the lightning above you. You're in the clouds carrying the electricity. So so this was not a good thing, but I'm still here. So I was very happy to come down in one piece.
Yeah, we are happy you are back, and we could listen to your stories. Wonderful. Very quickly, if in 60 seconds, both of you could share your transformation, your personal transformation, because we are talking about challenges, but you have survived these issues, the conflicts, and this climbing up this mountain. So what had been the biggest transformation for both of you? 60 seconds. Yes. Faruq.
The most important thing is I am not the me before the journey when I return to home. Yes, because my experiences during this journey showed me that I have learned how unimportant all materialistic values in our daily life, and how important it is for a person to believe in herself, and how important to listen to one's inner voice, and how each of us have such a powerful beings. These are the things that I have learned during this long journey.
Thank you very much for sharing this. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you. Fredrika, time starts.
I think for myself, what has really transformed me as a person from starting this journey, more than actually finishing it, is that it's really, we talked about this earlier, like once a person finds his or her true passion and something that comes from within yourself and not from your parents, not from your teachers, not from society telling us what and how we want to drive our lives forward. When you really feel that thing in your chest saying not that you can do it, is for me, it's been telling me you can't not do this. So really to listen and to try, like, spend time with your mind and see what's really the right thing for you. Yeah. And you can't sleep, you can only focus on what you want for yourself. I think it's then there are no limits to what we can do.
That's beautiful. I really appreciate it, because I have experienced these kind of journeys where you test your limits and you cross your comfort zones and you get into your challenging zone. I mean, you return as a transformed person, and your self-belief when you think that you are now unstoppable. Nothing on earth can stop you achieving your dreams, and that's the beautiful power when a human being attains. And the journeys are the best platform to attain that power, as our friends today they mentioned. So to the young people who are watching and listening to this conversation, we are about to end, and I'm thankful to both of my amazing guests here, Faruq and Fredrika, for sharing your amazing journeys. We have shared their website, so if you want to connect with them, want to listen or learn more from them, do go there, explore, discover, because you get this life once only. So live it best and be your best. Thank you very much. Take good care of yourself.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.